This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to the program. We have a packed rundown today covering international diplomacy, domestic legal battles, and shifting social policies. Let's get right into the headlines you need to know.
Pope Leo clarifies his speech was not targeting Trump.
Iranian AI videos mock the Trump administration's global image.
An appeals court allows White House ballroom construction.
Trump fast-tracks psychedelic drug reviews for mental health.
FBI Director Kash Patel threatens to sue over intoxication reports.
Conservative Supreme Court justices signal they won't retire soon.
Haitian migrants pay smugglers to flee the United States.
The Iran war's impact looms over upcoming midterm elections.
First, the Vatican's response. Pope Leo is pushing back against the idea that his recent comments about tyrants were a direct jab at President Trump. While traveling to Angola, the pontiff explained that his speech, which criticized leaders for spending billions on war instead of education and healing, was actually written 2 weeks before the president's recent criticisms of him. He expressed that it wasn't in his interest to engage in a public debate with the U.S. leader. This comes after Trump called the Pope terrible for foreign policy and weak on crime. The tension stems from the Pope's vocal opposition to military operations in Iran, which has clearly touched a nerve within the current administration's foreign policy circle.
It is interesting to see how Vice President J.D. Vance is navigating this, given his own Catholic faith. He actually thanked the Pope for the clarification, suggesting that while real disagreements exist, the media often amplifies the conflict. However, before this olive branch, Vance had told the Vatican to stick to matters of morality rather than politics. The Pope's original speech in Cameroon was quite pointed, lamenting how the masters of war destroy in a moment what takes a lifetime to rebuild. Even if the timing was coincidental, the themes of destabilization and death in blood-stained regions clearly resonate with the ongoing global debates over U.S. military involvement in the Middle East and Africa right now.
Next, digital propaganda shifts. A reporter for MS Now is highlighting a surprising trend in international propaganda. Ken Delanian noted that Iran is using highly sophisticated AI-generated videos to mock President Trump and his administration. These videos, which have gone viral with over 1 billion views on X, use Lego-themed animations and British rap lyrics to poke fun at the president's social media posts and the backgrounds of his cabinet members. Delanian argued that these videos are very clever because they target specific perceived weaknesses in the administration's arguments. It is a bit of a role reversal, as the U.S. essentially invented the internet and AI technologies, yet a theocratic regime is now using those very tools to win a digital hearts and minds campaign.
The content of these videos is quite provocative, ranging from references to the Epstein files to parodies of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. One video even depicts a Lego version of Hegseth in a compromising state to highlight allegations regarding his personal conduct. While the White House has released its own AI-enhanced videos celebrating military strikes, Delanian suggests that Trump's own controversial statements might be doing more damage to America's global image than these foreign propaganda efforts ever could. An Iranian group called Explosive Media admitted the regime is a customer for these videos, though they claim some independence. It shows how the battlefield has moved into the cultural sphere, where viral memes and catchy rap songs are becoming legitimate geopolitical weapons.
Now to the White House. The legal battle over President Trump's ambitious White House ballroom project has taken another turn. An appeals court has granted an administrative stay, allowing construction to resume on both the underground and above-ground portions of the facility. This follows a lower court judge's attempt to halt the work, arguing that the project required congressional approval and that the administration was using national security as a workaround. The president has been very vocal about this, claiming the ballroom is a vital, complex unit that includes bomb shelters and medical facilities necessary for protecting world leaders. He argued on Truth Social that no judge should be allowed to stop a project that he deems essential for the safety and military operations of the United States.
The Justice Department's appeal was quite urgent, stating that halting construction would leave a massive hole next to the executive residence and imperil the president's security. This project has been controversial since it began, with the National Trust for Historic Preservation suing because the administration didn't file plans with the National Capital Planning Commission. Judge Richard Leon had previously expressed skepticism, noting that national security isn't a blank check for unlawful activity. However, for now, the cranes will keep moving until the next hearing scheduled for June 5th. It is a significant victory for Trump's effort to physically redesign the White House grounds, even as critics argue the project bypasses the traditional oversight usually required for such massive changes to a historic landmark.
Moving to health policy, President Trump has signed a groundbreaking executive order aimed at fast-tracking the review of psychedelic drugs for mental health treatment. During an Oval Office ceremony, he directed $50 million in federal funds to make substances like psilocybin and ibogaine more accessible for treating depression and anxiety. The event had a unique atmosphere, with the president even joking about wanting some for himself. He was joined by high-profile figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Mehmet Oz, and Joe Rogan. Rogan mentioned that he had personally texted the president about the benefits of ibogaine, which prompted Trump to move forward with the FDA approval process. This marks the first time the FDA has offered to fast-track psychedelics using national priority vouchers.
The focus of this initiative is largely on the national mental health crisis, particularly among veterans. Former Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell spoke at the signing, telling the president that these treatments absolutely changed his life for the better. The administration is highlighting that over 14 million American adults suffer from serious mental illness, and current prescription medications aren't always enough. While government research into these drugs largely stopped in the 1960s due to their recreational popularity, recent studies have shown that even a single dose of something like LSD can ease anxiety for months. By framing this as a way to prevent suicide and help active military personnel with PTSD, Trump is bringing a once fringe medical topic into the mainstream of federal health policy.
Next, a legal threat. FBI Director Kash Patel is threatening a major lawsuit against The Atlantic, following a report that questions his fitness for office. The article, titled "The FBI Director is MIA," alleges that Patel's alcohol use has been a recurring concern within the government. It claims that on several occasions, his security detail had trouble waking him because he appeared intoxicated. Patel has hit back hard on social media, calling the report fake news and claiming that the legal standard for actual malice will make his lawsuit a slam dunk. His team at the FBI also released an email calling the allegations completely false at a nearly 100% clip. They argue the report was rushed and based on unreliable sources looking to disparage his leadership.
The details in the report are quite specific, including an allegation that a request for breaching equipment was made because Patel was unreachable behind locked doors. It also describes a supposed freakout where Patel thought he had been fired because he couldn't log into an internal computer system. However, Patel's media advisor, Erica Knight, has been very active in his defense, stating these intoxication incidents happened exactly 0 times. She instead pointed to Patel's record of seizing fentanyl and recovering missing children as proof of his effectiveness. This legal battle is likely to be very public, as Patel seems eager to take the fight to the courtroom to clear his name and challenge the narrative being pushed by his critics in the media and the Justice Department.
Now to the courts. Speculation about the Supreme Court's future is cooling down as sources close to Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas indicate they have no plans to retire before the midterm elections. This news effectively closes the window for President Trump to nominate a 4th justice this year, despite his recent comments that he was prepared to fill 2 or 3 vacancies if they opened up. Trump had mentioned that statistically it was possible for more seats to become available during his tenure. However, Alito, who is 76, and Thomas, who is 77, seem intent on staying on the bench. This is a crucial development because if Republicans lose control of the Senate in November, the president's chances of getting another conservative nominee confirmed would drop significantly.
The rumors about Alito were particularly intense after he was briefly hospitalized in March for dehydration. While he returned to work quickly, the incident sparked a wave of retirement talk. Both Alito and Thomas have been the most consistent conservative votes for the Trump administration's agenda. Interestingly, they were the only two dissenters in a recent case regarding the president's sweeping tariffs, where even Trump's own nominees joined the liberal justices to rule that he had overstepped his authority. Their decision to stay ensures that the court's current ideological balance remains stable for now. It also puts more pressure on the upcoming elections, as the future of the High Court remains a top-tier issue for voters on both sides of the political aisle.
Next, a border story. A harrowing report has emerged about Haitian immigrants paying thousands of dollars to smugglers to escape the United States for Canada. Last August, Canadian police found 44 people, including a pregnant woman and a child, struggling to breathe inside a U-Haul truck. These individuals are fleeing because they fear the Trump administration will revoke their legal status and deport them back to Haiti, a country currently devastated by extreme violence. For many, the risk of trudging through deep snow or paying $5,000 to be smuggled across the border is preferable to staying in a country where they no longer feel safe. They often head toward Montreal, a French-speaking hub where they hope to find a more stable future and apply for refugee protections.
The journey is incredibly dangerous, with at least 15 migrants dying in recent years while trying to make the crossing. To apply for refugee status in Canada, many have to stay undetected for 14 days, often taking selfies with a Canadian newspaper to prove their arrival date. This desperation is fueled by the president's past rhetoric, including his disparaging comments about Haiti and the false claims made during the campaign about Haitian communities in Ohio. Even though they were living legally in the U.S., the fear of a sudden policy shift has made the northern border a new flashpoint. It is a stark reminder of how domestic immigration rhetoric can have immediate, life-or-death consequences for vulnerable populations who feel they have no other choice but to run.
Finally, the political outlook. As the midterm elections approach, the ongoing war in Iran is becoming a central political issue. Polls show the conflict is not popular with the American public, and even the president's most loyal MAGA base is showing signs of skepticism. Many of these supporters originally backed Trump because of his promise to avoid long-term military ventures in the Middle East. Now, there is significant pressure on the president to find a definitive exit strategy or a dismount before November. If he can successfully end the war, it could be a major win for the Republican Party. However, the path to peace is complicated by reports of negotiations involving billions of dollars in frozen assets, a move Trump has criticized in the past when it was done by his predecessors.
The administration is sending mixed signals about the terms of a potential deal. While there are reports of a timetable for Iran to stop enriching uranium, Trump has publicly denied that any cash payments are on the table, insisting they won't give Iran a single cent. This creates a difficult balancing act for the president. He needs to satisfy his base's desire for an end to the war without appearing to cave to the same types of deals he once mocked Obama and Biden for making. The outcome of these negotiations will likely dictate the narrative for the midterms. If the war continues to drag on with no clear end in sight, it could alienate the very voters Trump needs to maintain control of the Senate.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for this daily update. Be sure to follow the show for the next daily briefing on the stories people follow most.